Welcome to today's very first Intro to Resistance Band class. I'm Coach Lindsay. Thank you so much for joining me. And today we're going to do talk all things resistance bands. So if you do not have a set of resistance bands, I'll just preview that anything that I'm going to talk about today and then the workouts are things that you can do with body weight. So for now, if you just want to learn a little bit about resistance bands and then do the exercises with us at the end with your body weight, totally fine. If you do have a set of resistance bands or just even one resistance band, go ahead and grab it now. That's all you're going to need is one band. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about the basics here to start. So you're going to hear me talking for a little bit just because I want you all to get familiar with resistance bands, why they're great to use, the different bands and what they mean in terms of weight. And then I'm going to show you all 6 exercises that are kind of the basic exercises to do with resistance bands, and then we will go from there. So like I said, first we're just going to chat about resistance bands. So why are resistance bands important? Why do we have them? Resistance bands are great for beginner strength training initially. So if you're somebody who has never done strength training, you're not really feeling super comfortable or confident with a dumbbell, resistance bands are basically the first step to take. They provide that resistance while also making sure that you're staying within your form because there's a connection right in the band. So you're not, going all over the place. They're also very, very light resistance. So very, very good for your joints, both upper body and lower body. And then they're also really great for rehabilitation. So if you're somebody who's coming off of an injury or like a joint surgery after you've been cleared for exercise by your physician or PT, of course, resistance band is kind of a great rehab spot to go because it's great for strengthening the ligaments and muscles around your joints. So specifically your knees, your shoulders, your elbows, stuff like that. So that is my spiel on resistance bands. They're great. I'm a huge fan. So like I said, I'm super excited to kind of get to know resistance bands a little bit better and get more comfortable with strength training. So let's talk a little bit about the bands initially. So there's a bunch of different sets out there. You can get resistance bands anywhere. We got ours on Amazon. They're really, really great and pretty accessible. You can even get them at your local Walmart or exercise and fitness store. So they're pretty standard across the board. So I'm going to talk about your heavies first. Your resistance band sets, typically you're going to have 5 bands in them and it's going to go 50 pounds to 10 pounds. So your heaviest band or your heaviest resistance is going to be your darkest, thickest band. So for me, this is like a dark blue, almost black, really thick band. And this equivalent is 50 pounds. So it's kind of crazy to think about, but when you're using this band, you're gonna be lifting, pressing, or pulling the equivalent of 50 pounds. These bands show the weight equivalent on them, which is really handy. So if you can find a set of bands that have the equivalent on them, that's what I would suggest so that you're not having to remember what is what. Your next heaviest band, of course, is gonna follow the trend of the next darkest, next thickest band. So this one is 40. They're usually going to go in 10-pound increments. And then of course, following the trend, your next darkest, next thickest is 30. So these heavier bands are great to use for larger muscle workouts. So squats, shoulder presses, lunges, things like that. So there's your heavy bands. Usually all bands are just gonna have a little carabiner on it that you can hook on to different accessories with the bands, which we'll talk about here in a second. So there are your heavy bands. And then you have your lights. For me, my lights are tan. This is the band I'm gonna be using for today. So as you can see, the accessory is a hand grip, which just clips on and onto the band really easily. So this light brown one is a 20-pound, which like I said, I'll be using for today's class. And then the lightest is the 10-pound, which is the thinnest, lightest band. Your lighter bands are great to use for smaller muscle movements like calf raises, lateral raises, bicep curls, stuff like that. So we have a couple different accessories that I'm not going to talk about today, but of course, since this is an intro class, we'll talk about it in future classes. But today I'm going to be using the 20. I suggest if you're doing these exercises with me to use your lightest band. If you start out too heavy, you're going to risk overuse injury, you're going to risk compromising form. So it's easier to start with your lowest band first. And then if you feel like it's too light, then you can increase from there. So like I said, here's my 20, has the hand weights on it. So we're gonna begin some exercises here in a minute. So get ready to go with your band. If you don't have bands, just do these with your body weight. You're just gonna get a great benefit from it either way. So we're gonna start with a warm up here initially. So we're gonna just start with a march, as I always like to do, just because what better way to get your body moving and heart rate up. Use those arms back and forth. Knees are coming nice and high, nice and straight posture here. Great job, mighty family. Let's take a couple side steps. We're gonna start to the left. We're just gonna hands on the hips, side step in here. So any warm up that I do, I like to try to make it tailored to the workout. So some of the movements that we're doing in the warm-up are kind of designed to get you ready for the exercises that we're gonna do today. So these are side steps, abductions, whatever you wanna call them, just getting the outer hips all warmed up. And then let's go ahead and add in some bicep curls. So up and down with each step. We're gonna be doing some bicep curls, of course, so we gotta get the elbow joint all warmed up. Awesome job, Mighty Family. Let's go ahead and pause there and add in some arm circles just to get the shoulders all nice and warm. Forward to begin with, really opening up the scapulas in the back. Big deep breaths in, nice and tall here still. And reverse. Awesome job, Mighty Family. Okay. Warm up is over. Nice, short and sweet since this is just intro. So like I said, 6 exercises that we're gonna do today. Each exercise we're gonna do 10 reps of, and it's 3 upper body, 3 lower body. So these are just kind of the basics, beginner exercises that I like to do with resistance bands. I'm gonna walk you through form, some things to pay attention to, some modifications as well. Do them with me. You can go at your own pace too if you're a little bit more experienced with bands, but go ahead and grab your band if you're ready. We're gonna start with bicep curls. The thing with using resistance bands is there has to be an anchor. Most of the time, the anchor is gonna be your feet. Today, what's nice is we're gonna be standing on the band as an anchor the entire time. But typically, if you're doing seated resistance band workouts, you're gonna anchor it to a door, which we will talk about in future classes, or just the base of your foot. So it's really important to make sure that if you are doing this barefoot, that you have a good grip of the band on the bottom of your foot. But if you have shoes on, that's probably the best thing to do. Clearly, I'm not a good example. I like to work out barefoot, but shoes have that nice groove where your arch is. When you're using your feet as the anchor, the resistance band can kind of slip into that groove of your shoe to make it safer. The thing that you do not want to do is allow that band to slip off of your foot and hit you in the face. We definitely do not want that. So that's just kind of the basic anchoring points of a resistance band. So what I want you to do is start by standing on the band with me here. We're gonna do bicep curls like I said. So for me, with being barefoot, the band is right in the middle of my foot. That's where you want it to be. If it slips, it's not a big deal because we're standing on it anyways. But we want to have the feet shoulder width apart here. Hands are gonna face out, elbows anchored to the side at all times. With resistance bands, it's easy to arch your back. We do not want that. Squeeze that belly button to your spine, and then we are gonna go ahead and begin. So I will show you a side view just so you can get the gist of it. So join me here for 10 bicep curls with that resistance band. The thing to remember here is allowing that eccentric or that lowering movement nice and controlled. With resistance bands, it's easy to get really lazy, right? And let the band pull your arms down. That is not benefiting you at all. So nice and controlled up, nice and controlled down here. Great job. Remember to squeeze that core, prevent yourself from arching. 3 more here. Awesome job. 1 left here. You got it. All right, key thing to remember before you let go of that band is before you adjust to a new exercise, don't have any resistance when you step off of that band. Make sure you have 0 resistance and step off of it very safely. If you have resistance still when you go to step off, guess what? It's gonna hit you in the face. We don't want that. So we've done the first exercise, which is bicep curls. Second exercise is lateral raise. So this is a shoulder movement. With this movement, I'm going to have just 1 foot on the band. You can do 2 feet to add extra resistance, but for the purposes of today, I'm using 1. So 1 foot is gonna stay planted on the ground here. That back foot, you can kind of lead with it, whichever foot, doesn't matter. Back foot is gonna come back just ever so slightly. So your stance should look like this. Now what we're gonna do is take our arms or our bands here, and we're gonna come up and down. This is a lateral raise. This is working your shoulders and a little bit of your upper back. So key with this, again, is paying attention to that eccentric motion, that downward motion, nice and controlled. We don't want this. That's not cute. We want nice and controlled. And we want the hands to go parallel with our collarbone. So we don't want to come all the way up here. That's not really benefiting you. We want to come nice and straight here. Great job, mighty family. Nice and controlled, feeling the burn in the shoulders there. 3 more. And last one. All right, remember, 0 resistance. Step off that band safely. Last upper body exercise is a shoulder press. This is where you're gonna wanna have 2 feet planted on the band, similar to that bicep curl. So go ahead and get yourself situated. Feet are gonna be about shoulder width apart. You can bring them a little closer, just kind of depending on your balance as well. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take those bands and we're gonna bring them straight up, okay? Your arm should be just like this. And then once you have those bands pulled up, we're gonna do a shoulder press. So we're pressing up and down. So big thing to remember here, bands are in front of you. You can also do these with bands behind you like this. I just find that a little bit tougher on the shoulders. So I like to start here first. So 10 here. Really pay attention to drawing that belly button towards your spine, because this is another exercise that it gets really easy to arch as you push up. Nice job, mighty family. Keep going. These are tough. Get that band all the way up there. 3 more. And last one here. Woo, awesome job. 0 resistance. Step off safely. Great job, mighty family. Let's roll those shoulders back away from our ears here. Get some nice shoulder shrugs in here. We did a lot of upper body work just now. So next we're gonna move into our basic lower body exercises for resistance bands. So first one is lunges. Do not let the word lunge or squat scare you. I will provide modifications for this, but remember that these are very low impact. So even if you do a full lunge, it shouldn't give you too much pain unless of course you have limited or special considerations with your knees. So with that lunge, we're gonna do 5 on each leg. So it doesn't really matter what leg you start with. I'm gonna start with my left leg leading, so that band is gonna come up underneath of my left foot. And then we are going to take the bands and we're just gonna pull them up. So similar to a bicep curl, we're just holding the bands right here nice and secure in our chest. And then we're taking that right leg, step back, we're lunging, and then we're up. So if you can do a full lunge, amazing. If you can't, step back, slight dip in the knees, come up, and together. So 5 here. What that band is doing is adding resistance to the leading leg and causing more impact on the quad muscle. So you're growing your quad muscle, a little bit of your glute muscle as well. 2 more here. Again, modify that lunge if you need to. Last one. Okay, release those bands slowly. 0 resistance. Step off and switch legs. So right leg leads. Make sure you've got that band in the middle of the foot here. Pull those bands up into your chest nice and secure. And then when you're ready, 5 here, we're stepping back with that left leg, lunging, and then we're coming up. So the key with lunges, if you're doing the full lunges, you wanna make sure that your knee that is back is not touching the ground, it's just hovering, okay? And then your leading knee needs to not exceed your toe, okay? So you wanna lean back and up. We'll talk about more lunge form when we do a lower body resistance band class, but those are just the basics. Great job, mighty family. Last one here. Awesome job. Slowly release, step off. We've got 2 exercises left. You guys are doing awesome. Next exercise is abductions. So I'm gonna show you a couple different ways to do this. First, let's get into form. So 2 feet are gonna stand on that band, shoulder width apart. We're gonna take the bands and we're just gonna cross them in front of us. So it should look like this, an X right in front of your body. Once you have that, here is one way, I would say more of the advanced way to do this. I'm gonna start with my right leg, and it's just gonna look like this. Our right leg is gonna come out and back down. Okay, that's one way to do this. If you find that maybe your balance isn't there or this is pretty tough, just step to the side, okay? So we're gonna do 5 on each leg. If you're doing the singular, that's 5 and then 5. If you're doing both, you can just do single count to 10. So 1, 2, 3, okay? So this allows the band, this movement, to kind of roll a little bit more on your foot. So just be really careful of that. Just making sure you're keeping a nice flat foot here. Should be feeling this in the outer hips. It's definitely a good way to burn those muscles. Pay attention to your range of motion here too. You can step out or abduct out as far as you can, or as far as you want to. 2 more here on each side. And last one. Great job, Mighty Family. Let go. Step off nice and safely. Last lower body workout. Whew, I say this is an intro, but we are working. So squats. Again, don't let it scare you. We have modifications. So you're gonna wanna stand feet shoulder width apart on the band, similar to basically all of the workouts we've done so far. And then what you do with your bands is kind of up to you and your level. So if squats are kind of not your thing, hold them at your hips and just dip down very, very slightly, okay? If squats are more your thing and you love doing squats, pull them up to your chest and squat all the way down, okay? So a couple different ways. You can pull them up to your chest and slightly squat. You can pull them here and all the way squat. I mean, there's so many different things you can do. So use this time to play around with what feels best. And we're gonna do 10 here. Great job, Mighty Family. Leaning back on the heels, pretending like you're sitting in a chair here. Awesome job. What a difference that resistance band makes. 3 more here. Last one, Mighty Family. Awesome job. All right, release, 0 tension, and step off. All right, Mighty Family, nice job. We can toss that band. We are gonna stretch it out because we are working hard. So let's first stretch out that upper body. Bring one arm across for that shoulder stretch. Nice big inhale and exhale. Draw that shoulder away from your ear and switch sides. Get that heart rate down nice and slow. All right, we're gonna stretch out the neck a little bit here. So we're gonna take one hand, pull it over on either side of your ear here, and we're just gonna pull ever so slightly to the side, just getting that nice stretch here in the upper shoulder area, the neck area. If you need a little bit of a deeper stretch, take that other hand and push away. And release. Go ahead and do the other side. Deep breath in and out. And again, for that deeper stretch, take that other hand and push away. And release. We're gonna do some quad stretches since we did a lot with the quads with the lunges and the squats. So have a wall close by or a chair to hold on to. This involves a little bit of balance. And I'm gonna take my right leg first, grip my ankle, and making sure that my knees are touching. We don't wanna be up here, we don't wanna be out here. Nice and tall here, and get that quad stretched out. Great job, Mighty Family. Go ahead and switch sides. Again, grip that wall. I find myself having to after doing so much work. And relax. Awesome job, Mighty Family. Thank you so much for joining me for today's intro to resistance band class. Hopefully you learned a little bit about bands and got some good idea of what to do next. And we will be coming out with more actual workouts in the future, so stay tuned.